I've been a fan of pandas for all my life. I've always wanted to cuddle a cub and get close to a panda in the wild. On my Chinese journey, I'll meet other extraordinary creatures too. It won't be easy finding one of the world's most elusive creatures. Join me on my travels in China for Panda Week. Hello again, welcome to Panda Adventure. That is an elephant behind me, but you are watching the right programme. I'm at San Diego Zoo to meet the most famous pandas in America. Coming up, a remarkable birth. I'll welcome the newest cub. I'm all ears at a panda hearing test. Back in China, I'll climb high into the mountains to find magical mammals. I'll go on a night safari. There's something moving. And enjoy a reunion. And they've certainly grown. San Diego Zoo in Southern California. The size of 50 football pitches, it's home to over 4,000 animals. Some of them are elusive beasts from panda country. These are remarkable animals. It's the first time I've seen them in the flesh. They're called takin. They live in the same high mountains as the giant pandas. When I go back to China, I'm hoping to see these in the wild. Takin are majestic, but there's no doubt giant pandas are the zoo's A-list celebrities. 5 of them live in a state-of-the-art facility. I'm just one of over 3 million people who flock here to see them every year. Pandas have been drawing the crowds in the US since a zoo in Chicago bought one in 1936. San Diego Zoo's family of black and white bears certainly seem at home here, but they're relative newcomers to America. Bai Yun, a young female, touched down from China in 1996. She received star treatment, even a police escort from the airport. In the coming years, Bai Yun would prove to be a marvellous mum. To see how Bai Yun and her family are cared for,
how do we start?
I've become a keeper for the day. Raking panda poo, perfect way to start the day. Pandas can produce over 20 kilos of the stuff every 24 hours. I've finished raking it in, now it's time to be a waiter. Bamboo is the starter, main course and dessert. An adult panda can eat up to 1/4 of its body weight every day. Locally grown produce is always on the menu. The zoo has its own bamboo farm in a nearby valley. In California's climate, these colossal grasses can grow 15 metres, 8 times my height, in a year. Back at the zoo, portions are carefully weighed so the bears don't overindulge. Bamboo looks all the same to me, but it turns out you could dish up different courses with it. How many varieties of bamboo do you feed the pandas here?
Well, we have about 11 varieties available for the pandas. At any one feeding, they get between 3 and 6 species.
So even though this seems a boring diet, you can give them variety.
Absolutely. This is like you having your vegetables, your carrots, your broccoli, your potatoes. This isn't boring at all, and they definitely are picky about which ones they're eating.
The keepers don't just mix up the menu, they also play with how the food's presented. Su Lin, one of the pandas born here, will soon be making an entrance.
Su Lin's 4.
like all youngsters, she needs a toy. We'll put a little bit of food in there. See what she does with that. The challenge should give her pause for thought. Food hidden in a barrel or a sack is a brain teaser for Sue Lin. Behavioural enrichment is the technical term for these quizzes. They stimulate captive animals and keep their minds occupied. Sue Lin's cracked the conundrum. Her reward, a piece of prime bamboo. After breakfast, the team have some more puzzles in store for Sue Lin.
Atta girl.
Scientists at San Diego are combining enrichment with research.
Oh, sweetie. Good girl.
Sue Lin is about to sit a test. It's all a game for her, but the results could help pandas in the wild. So, Megan, we've just seen Sue Lin come into this box here. What's going on?
We're giving her a hearing test, but what we're trying to do is find out how well pandas can hear. It's actually just like a hearing test that you or a child would get in a doctor's office. The only difference is that we have her put her nose to a target when she hears a tone, and we give her a food reward when she does that correctly. So right now I'm going to play a tone. She went to target, that way I know she heard it, just like that. And now the keeper will give the panda a food reward. And so she knows she did a good job. It's the first ever study on giant panda hearing.
Yeah, why is that important for conservation?
It's important because in giant panda habitat in China, there are a lot of people, a lot of industrial noise, vehicle noise. So we're trying to build an understanding of their acoustic world, and therefore we can estimate how noises might bother them.
Now she's turning, and do you think that means she's had enough?
Yeah, we're starting to get a little slower response. My guess is she's about ready to be done.
This study could lead to noise restrictions in wild panda reserves. The biggest research priority here, though, is panda breeding. There've been more panda cubs born at San Diego Zoo than any other zoo in the United States. The reason for that is they've got pandas that fancy each other. Gao Gao is the dad to all the zoo's recent cubs. He was rescued from the wild after being found injured as a youngster. Some scars remain. Most of his left ear is missing. But his looks don't stop him being a Lothario. Gao Gao was brought here as a mate for Bai Yun. He soon settled in, acrobatically leaving his scent to signal he was romantically inclined. His perfume worked. Gao Gao and Bai Yun paired up. Next, we'll meet their babies. This is San Diego Zoo in Southern California. I've come here to meet its panda superstars. The crowds have been entertained by Gao Gao, the adult male, since 2003. He's fathered a family here. The first baby was named Mei Shong, which means born in the USA. He shows off in man-made snow. 2 years later, Gao Gao's mate, Bai Yun, gave birth to a daughter, Sue Lin. Her name means a little bit of something very cute. By now, San Diego was building a reputation as a panda breeding center. 2 years later, another daughter for Bai Yun, Zen Zen. A cake made of ice and carrots made the perfect gift for an inquisitive panda cub celebrating her first birthday. The big question now is whether Baiyun and Gao Gao will successfully mate again. Normally, they live apart. They're only brought together when both of them show signs of wanting to mate. Clearly, the time was right. But a lot more work was needed to see if the mating had led to a pregnancy. Conception was confirmed by zoo vet Meg Sutherland-Smith. So a lot of high tech. Now, what technology do you use during the pregnancy?
Now what we use is we use ultrasound.
With a human mum, you go to the hospital, rub some fluid on your tum and then do the ultrasound. How do you do that with a panda?
Well, our keepers have done a very good job of training Baiyun to go into our little chute area. She lies down, goes on her back. We just put gel and we just do our ultrasound.
What size is the embryo when you first see it?
When we first see it, it looks like a little lentil bean floating in this little pocket of fluid, and that's about 7 to 8 millimeters.
So it's difficult to be certain a panda's pregnant until the very last moment.
Absolutely. You know, Baiyun and Gao Gao, they bred back in April, and we weren't able to confirm a pregnancy until July.
I'm going to try to switch approach right now.
Remarkably, that was only 2 weeks before the birth. Only a few more ultrasound checks would be possible before Baiyun disappeared into her birthing den. Then, on the 5th of August 2009, her labour began. A panda baby is incredibly tiny, around 800 times lighter than its mum. So they cry out as soon as they're born. The cries probably help Mum to know where they are, so they won't be crushed. The cub, now 2 weeks old, is fit and healthy and growing fast. She's licking the cub there. All your monitoring paid off. She's a wonderful mum, isn't she?
Absolutely. Baiyun is the best giant panda mom in the world.
2 months later, I'm back in San Diego to catch up with the baby. He's a boy named Yunzi. When his mum leaves the den to feed, keepers take the chance to examine the cub. Since I was last here, Yunzi has grown 30 times
In a
heavier.
mama position. Okay, you ready there?
Meg, what are you doing now?
We're trying to document dental development, and it's a lot easier for Ken to take a picture and then for us to look at the pictures. He's moving. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, he's doing good.
Kathy, Yunzi, it's a charming name. What does it mean?
Means son of cloud. And I think that is a very fitting name for this little guy, because it honors his mother Baiyun, because her name means white cloud.
Yeah.
7.5 centimeters is the tail length. 44.
Is he big for his age?
Yes, he is. He's one of our biggest cubs so far.
And as far as you can see, everything looks great.
Yeah.
So Baiyun's really living up to her reputation as being the best panda mum in the world.
Absolutely.
Another perfect cub, so this is her 5th.
Isn't that amazing? 5 cubs.
Yunzi is the newest addition to Baiyun's dynasty. Her firstborn was a cub called Hua Mei. This is her with Baiyun over a decade ago. Hua Mei became famous as the first panda born in the US to survive into adulthood. As Hua Mei grew up, the zoo knew she wouldn't be staying forever. All pandas belong to China, even those born abroad. In 2004, Hua Mei was returned to the land of her parents. Her destination was 11,000 kilometers away in the mountains of central China. Today, she lives at the Bifongsha Panda Base. I'm following in Wame's footsteps and will meet up with her soon. Sichuan province is very different to California. Surrounded by exotic sights and smells, I wonder how she felt when she passed through here, a panda newly arrived from the US. Wame, the panda born in San Diego, certainly lives in a picturesque part of China. Her home is the spectacular Bifeng Gorge. 13 kilometers long and up to 200 meters deep, the gorge is a remarkable setting for a panda facility. Bifeng Panda Base is less than 10 years old, but already holds over 70 giant pandas. Last year alone, 13 cubs were born here. Some of the residents are earthquake refugees. Later, I'll find out more about the pandas that were evacuated. Time to explore the base. Everywhere I look, there are pandas. The enclosures here are huge and very naturalistic. These 2-year-old cubs are not yet full grown. In a few months, they'll be separated. Adult pandas are solitary animals. Bifeng doesn't need a bamboo farm like San Diego. It grows naturally in the surrounding mountains. Even so, this keeper has his work cut out. Just 4 pandas eat 70 kilos of bamboo every day. I never tire of seeing this. They look so relaxed when they sit back and feed. They're experts at shredding and crunching bamboo. And no wonder they spend most of their waking hours doing this. They've really turned bamboo eating into an art. Very elegant the way they do it. Twist of the hand, turn of the head. They strip the hard outer layers off the bamboo, then stick the peeled stalks into their mouth and chew using those massive cheek teeth. They look like they've got big tummies, but there's not that much inside. Most vegetarian animals have really long intestines. In cows, they can be up to 50 meters, 20 times their body length. But pandas only have intestines 5.5 times the length of their bodies. That's about 8 meters, about the same as in humans. They don't get much goodness for each meal, which is why they have to eat for up to 16 hours a day. Pandas don't just munch bamboo. They'll also eat grasses, flowers and roots. Like all bears, they like honey, and they'll even eat a little meat. Next on the agenda, an after-dinner nap. The younger pandas prefer a snooze with a view. Bifeng has a lot of trees, so it's a great place to see the climbing ability of pandas. 2 cubs here. A bit of argy-bargy there. It's obviously a favourite sleeping place. That one's retreating. They normally come down bottom first. Very flexible, the way they use their paws to get handholds. In the wild, pandas climb trees to escape danger or rest in the branches. Looks like this one will have to kip on the ground. The winner is top of the world. He's sleeping peacefully. Now I have an appointment with a posse of panda cubs that were born here earlier in the year. They're the big draw at Bifeng. With 13 cubs to look after, the keepers have their work cut out. I'm joining them on the milk run. It's feeding time at the nursery. Bifeng was a small centre, but it really came into its own after the terrible earthquake of 2008. The massive quake, which killed almost 70,000 people, all but destroyed Sichuan's world-famous Wolong Panda breeding centre. In the devastation, several pandas escaped and one was crushed under a collapsed wall. But most were saved. One of the team on duty that day is now at Bifeng. Ni Kwa risked his life moving the terrified pandas to safety. How many pandas did you lift in the earthquake?
13.
13 panda cubs you saved. You're a hero.
Thank you.
61 of the Wolong pandas were evacuated here, and now at Bifeng there's 74 pandas. The famous Wolong Panda Reserve is being rebuilt, and eventually some of these pandas will go back there. Hua Mei, the panda born at San Diego Zoo, was caught up in the disaster and evacuated here to Bifeng. Let's see how she's doing. This is how Hua Mei looked 6 years ago, just before she began her journey to China. I wonder if she's changed. And here's Hua Mei in her new home, the lush panda sanctuary of Bifeng. She hasn't changed one bit. She still has that distinctive long face. She's really tucking into that. And Hua Mei here is one of the most prolific panda mums on Earth. So far, she's given birth to 7 cubs, including 3 sets of twins. She's a terrific mum, just like Baiyun, her own mother. From California to China, this lush forest, such a different place for Hua Mei to live. She is so content here. After spending time with captive pandas, I'm even more determined to see one of these beautiful animals in the wild. I have a chance in nearby mountains where I'm heading now. After the break, I'll climb above the clouds and see golden giants. This panda adventure started at California's San Diego Zoo. Their male handstands to leave scent for his mate. We witnessed the birth of a cub, and I met him when he was 3 months old. Hua Mei, the first cub ever born here, was returned to China. I visited her at Bifeng Panda Base. And here's Hua Mei in her new home. Her base is close to where wild pandas roam. In the province of Sichuan, one of their strongholds is Tangihe Reserve. I'm on my way there now. In the cities, one can never forget that almost 1.5 billion people live in China. But even in a concrete jungle, there's room for wild things. Stop! Stop! People gathered around something here. I can't believe this. Right in the middle of the town. Yeah? This is a little striped-tailed rat snake, also known as the Taiwan beauty snake. You can see the stripes on the tail here. They grow to be 2.5 meters long, very docile, not trying to bite at all. Look at this! Yeah, no, it's no problem. It's a little baby. And what's probably happened, it lived on some waste ground near here. It's been disturbed by the building work. It looks uninjured, so what we'll do is take it to some nice habitat on the edge of town. We'll give you a better home. We're soon in the countryside. where drying maize and the rice harvest are signs of autumn. This looks a good place to release the snake. The rat snake rode in my pocket. Hopefully he was comfortable. Yeah, much warmer than this morning. This slope is perfect. There'll be rodents here, plenty of places to hide. They're very good at climbing, these striped-tailed rat snakes. So away you go. Picturesque villages nestle in serene mountains, but beneath the surface there are powerful forces that can cause terrible tragedy. The epicenter of the 2008 earthquake is close by. We drive past a memorial. It's all that remains of a village buried by a landslide. Brick by brick, towns and cities are being rebuilt. $150 billion have been earmarked for the construction of over 160 hospitals, 4,000 schools, and enough homes for 3 million people. I'll need supplies for my mountain trek. For a non-meat eater like me, salad and fruit are just the ticket. As well as giant pandas, Tangier Reserve, my destination, is home to other exciting animals. I'm itching to get there, so a hold-up is all I need. A bit like being on the M25. At last, Tangier Reserve. It even has a golden panda at the entrance. A mammal that features in myths and legend is also found here. I first saw them at San Diego Zoo. Now's my chance to meet a golden tarkin in the wild. I'm joining Chinese experts and heading up to the mountain tops. In early autumn, both tarkin and pandas should be at high altitude. It isn't long before we find evidence in the mud. Linyo. There we go, that's Chinese for tarkin. You can see these big splayed hooves. So that's the first clue. There's tarkin in this area. We haven't gone very high yet. We trek quietly, just in case there's a tarkin or panda just around the corner. There's plenty of evidence for one of them. Linyo. Tarkin poo. More clues that there's tarkin in the area. That's a bit of a mixed blessing, because we're going right up to the mountain top. In the autumn they come down into the valleys. Maybe they're not up there and we should concentrate our efforts down here, but we're not going to know until we get there. Right, Shishini. Have some lunch. I'm looking forward to rice and eggs. What a treat. Perfect place for a picnic. What a view. Tangier has many mountains, some rising over 3,000 meters high. And they're steep, I can tell you. I shouldn't have eaten that eggy rice, making it even harder. But a familiar sound makes me forget my lung-bursting efforts. Nutcrackers, that's a lovely call. One of my favourite mountain birds. In autumn, they collect and hide thousands of pine seeds. A pouch under their tongue allows them to carry up to 90 at once. They cache the seeds in hundreds of places, remembering where they hid them for many months.
Lovely.
Over 2,500 metres up, and we've arrived at base camp.
Made it. Home sweet home, right in the heart of the Tarkin grasslands.
The bamboo thickets petered out lower down, so we've no chance of panda here. Tarkin are now the target.
Yeah, sure. Cheers.
Nothing beats a cup of tea around a campfire. Next morning, a spectacular view while I'm brushing my teeth. There's another 500 metres to climb today. The Tarkin feeding grounds are above the clouds. Hopefully, I'm not too late and the Tarkin haven't moved to lower slopes for the winter.
There's the summer pasture of the Tarkin. We're above 3,000 metres. It's early morning. This is when they usually come to feed. There can be big herds, up to 100 animals. Fingers crossed, we'll see some.
I scan the slopes for movement or any shapes that stand out from the grass.
Nothing moving at all. Now 10 to 11, which is a bit late in the day for the Tarkin to be feeding. They'd be hiding in the trees now, if there's any up here at all.
I make one last circuit of the summit. There's definitely no Tarkins in the mist.
4 hours up, 2 hours down, not a Tarkin in sight.
But suddenly, the animals I'm desperate to see.
There they are. At last, a golden Tarkin, standing proud on the hillside. When you find them, they certainly stand out. There's a whole herd of them here.
Tarkin could be behind a famous Greek myth. Were their fleeces the inspiration for the treasure sought by Jason and the Argonauts?
Whether they did produce the mythical golden fleece that Jason was after, I don't know, but Tarkin are certainly fantasy creatures.
In Bhutan, there's another legend that they were conjured up from the bones of a cow and a goat. I can see why.
They look like they're made up from bits and pieces of other animals. The other names for Tarkin are cattle chamois and gnu goat. You can see elements of those animals in them.
They remind me of the muskox I've seen in the Arctic.
But really they're in a family of their own. They're sort of goat antelope. So many different colours. The big shaggy coats of Tarkin aren't always golden.
It's usually the older males that have the richest golden yellow fur.
One jumped up there to get at some succulent leaves. Sometimes they stand on their back legs. They can knock saplings over that are 10 centimetres thick. That one's really having a feast. Lots of calves in the herd. They're born in the spring, so these are about 6 months old. There's one there going to have a drink from mum.
The calves are weaned at 9 months old.
The young calf there playing, jumping around. Mum's looking on. The big male staring down at me. They stand around 120 centimetres at the shoulder. He'd come up to here on me.
It's an interesting thought. On their travels in the mountains, many of these Tarkin would have set eyes on a panda. That's what I hope to do. Pandas are few and far between in Tangier Reserve, so to realise my dream, I'll have to go elsewhere. But before I leave, I'm taking the opportunity to shed light on some night prowlers. It's a real thrill, this spotlighting. You never know what you're going to find, especially when you're in a new place. What I'm doing is putting the light right next to my eye so I can see eye shine, flicking it every now and then on the ground in case there's anything scurrying. There, something moving. It is a leopard cat. Leopard cat up there in the rocks. One of its Chinese names is Chen Mao. That means money cat because the spots on the coat look like Chinese money. Same size as a domestic cat, except a lot more slender, longer limbed. Moving nimbly over the rocks. Away she goes. I wonder what else is about. I don't believe it. There's some Tarkin over there. Green and orange eye shine, 3 of them. I think, as often happens with animals, you put a lot of effort into finding them, and then once you've seen them, they're popping out of the woodwork. I take the light off them, don't want to disturb them. Let's let sleeping Tarkin lie. Coming up, I return to Chengdu Panda Base for a joyous reunion. I've returned to the city of Chengdu, the panda capital of the world. I've just left Tangier Reserve, where I saw Tarkin and leopard cat. Tangier and Chengdu are both in the province of Sichuan. I'm here to catch up with the residents of Chengdu's panda base. It seems that everyone's a panda fanatic here. They start at a really early age. Since I was last here, flags have been hung to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. And wow, the flowers around the statue have certainly grown. But some things haven't changed. The koi carp at the panda base are just as spectacular as they were in the spring. There's black swans with cygnets too. The fish spawned in May. Their babies are hiding in the reeds. They'll be about that long now. Whilst the fish were spawning, the pandas were mating. They have their babies in late summer. The newborn cubs are what I've come here to see. But before meeting the new arrivals, I want to catch up with the older cubs I tussled with in the spring. And my, they've certainly grown. Still love their milk, even though they're a year old. When I first met these little cubs, they had their milk teeth. They really are very powerful. Got quite sharp teeth. They've got adult teeth now, 40 big teeth for crunching bamboo. These are about half grown now, full grown. They'll weigh in at 100 kilograms. That's a bit heavier than I am, and be 1.5 meters long. One of these youngsters is a bit of a kung fu panda. This cub is named after the famous Hollywood actor, Jackie Chan. Like many of us, he's a panda lover, and recently became Chengdu's first panda ambassador. Long Long, that's Jackie's Chinese name. And over here, Chong Chong, Another one named after Jackie. So you have a famous Hollywood namesake, don't you? Like Jackie Chan, pandas have many acrobatic moves. Youngsters love rolling over and over. Sometimes they stop and hold a pose mid-roll. Now it's time for me to meet the cubs born this year.
I'm so excited about this. This is the nursery stroke intensive care unit. All of the panda cubs come here. 10 o'clock in the morning is one of the busiest times here at the nursery. There's babies coming in to be weighed and fed. Keepers take meticulous notes, weights and measures, how much milk the babies have had. They need to be sure they're developing properly.
When nurturing a creature as priceless as a panda, nothing can be left to chance.
Reminds me so much of a human nursery. Looks like that little baby's being winded.
But this isn't intended to make the baby panda burp.
The patting on the back calms the cubs down. This is a real precious bundle, the newest baby of the year.
It's remarkable how tiny baby pandas are. At birth, they only weigh 100 grams. This one is just a few weeks old.
That's something you don't need to do with human infants. But some baby mammals, they need to be stimulated to go to the toilet. The mothers normally lick their tummies with their rough tongues. Rubbing a piece of rough paper towel on the tummy mimics the effect of the mum's tongue. It's doing the trick. This is great to see. Chengdu Panda Base, other centres around the world, they're starting to crack the problems of breeding pandas in captivity. In the past, when a female panda had twins, one of them always used to die.
That's because panda mums can't produce enough milk for 2 babies. Researchers came up with a simple solution. At any time, only 1 twin is kept with mum. After a cuddle and a meal of nutritious milk, the cub is gently taken away. It's headed back to the nursery where it can be bottle-fed. Now its twin has its turn with mother. By swapping them around in this way, both babies get quality time with mum and all the milk they need.
So with a bit of extra help with feeding, the mother can successfully rear both of her cubs.
Hopefully, in the future, some of Chengdu's pandas can be released into the wild. And that's where I'm headed soon. I hope you're enjoying my adventures in China. Next time, I venture into the mountains to meet some cute but mischievous monkeys, make a wish on an elephant's leg, find that good fortune favours the fast, and my panda adventures go beyond my wildest dreams.
Extraordinary.
Hope to see you again on Panda Adventure.